Buenos días a todos. Os doy la bienvenida desde la Asociación de Centros de Enseñanza de Idiomas de Madrid como presidenta. Me alegra mucho el tener estas primeras jornadas desde ACEDIN. Tendremos a través de nuestros colaboradores Macmillan y Cambridge, nos van a exponer unos materiales para las clases mixtas, tanto online y presenciales, unos materiales expresamente hechos para estas clases. Tendremos unos ponentes de lujo por su dilatada trayectoria en el sector educativo, así como en exámenes de Macmillan y Cambridge. Creo que son de sobra conocidos por todos vosotros. El guión que tendremos en la jornada será de 11 a 12, lo realizará Macmillan, en el que intervendrán Sara y Lucy. Dentro de su hora se realizarán las preguntas que creáis convenientes. Y después proseguirá Cambridge de 12 a 1 con Mark, Meredith y Stuart. Y bueno, pues esto es todo. Así es que sin nada más que dar las gracias también a CADE, que es nuestra patronal de la enseñanza, y también no quiero olvidarme de presentaros a un miembro destacado de la Junta de ACEDIN, que es Miguel Tajuelo, que también está aquí en el panel. Si os parece, entonces, Sara y Lucy, cuando queráis podéis comenzar con la exposición.
Muchas gracias, María José. Bueno, si podemos cerrar los micrófonos, así no hay eco. Vale. Pues voy a compartir la pantalla un momento. So I'm now going to switch over to English as well. Oops, sorry. All right, well, good morning, and thank you everyone for joining us. I'm Sarah Collins from Macmillan, and my colleague Lucy Thistlethwaite is here as well. And thank you, ACEDIN, for having us today and for organizing everything. And I think it goes without saying that the past 2 years have brought about a massive change in the way we do things as teachers, as students, as businesses. And we've all had to adapt really quickly to distance learning during a very, very challenging and stressful time, to say the least. And then to hybrid learning, and then back to face-to-face in some cases. And now we need to be able to switch from one to another or mix as needed because our business models have also changed. Now, obviously, there's been a lot to deal with in terms of the practicalities of teaching in different environments. On the one hand, access to technology and levels of experience with technology, what you can actually do during class time, classroom management, homework, exams. And then on the other hand, things behind the scenes like real life interruptions, working with materials online, pets, kids, technical hiccups. So it's not that technology wasn't a part of our lives already, but it's now taken on so much more importance. And the pandemic really accelerated our move to working online and thinking outside the box when it comes to planning lessons. So if we had to say something positive, we've acquired new skills and learned to do things differently, and we're able to adapt to new situations. However, it's hard to say what's going to happen next. And learning from the techniques that we've acquired, and seeing what we want to continue applying, and everything could obviously vary from one day to the next. So we've had to become flexible, and so should the materials and resources we use. So at Macmillan, we believe it's important to give you a 360-degree approach with print materials, digital materials, and customized blended solutions that are user-friendly, fresh, and most importantly, which give you maximum flexibility and support you to be able to teach from home, from the classroom, or whatever your language school needs to offer to meet students' needs. And you also have our complete support, both pedagogically and technologically. Now, Lucy and I are going to show you some of our materials that give you the flexibility to comfortably teach in person or online or both, and give students different ways to continue learning, whether it be through a mobile app or as an avatar, or working towards an external exam. So the materials we're looking at for today are Big Wheel for very young learners, Academy Stars for primary age kids, Optimize for teens, Macmillan English Hub for adults, and our best-selling exam preparation course, Ready For, which we've just brought out the 4th edition, and I'll be giving you some info on the updates on the book. Now, all these courses bear in mind the Macmillan 360-degree promise, which means flexibility and support for your teaching needs. And some of you are already using these materials, so please don't hesitate to get in touch if you'd like some additional tips and tricks on the materials or any extra training that you might need. Now, first, we're going to begin with very young learners. Big Wheel is a 3-level course for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds by award-winning Young Learners expert Carol Reed, which gives teachers all the tools you need to successfully teach groups of energetic infantile learners, combining both physical resources and digital resources. The connecting thread through the series is a female lead, Mimi, who is a meerkat and her family of meerkats, as well as real children to help prepare young learners for primary and promote life skills and values such as sharing or helping others. Now, something unique about Big Wheel is its hop on and hop off approach, which allows you to either hop on and follow the unit sequence as it appears in the course book, or hop off to cover the units in the order we choose. So you can align the content to any syllabus that students might be following at school or that the center is following. Now, one of the most important aspects is that this is play-based learning with simple to implement teaching ideas that make learning fun for both the students and the teachers. This methodology lays the foundation for children to become curious and excited about learning later in life. And play-based learning also helps children develop social skills, motivation to learn, taking initiative, and a natural desire to understand the world. For this reason, Big Wheel offers an enormous range of multimedia, combining both animated and real image, real color, real appearance imagery in the lessons. And their videos have been demonstrated to stimulate interest in real-world situations and language use. Now, to reinforce this, social emotional learning and life skills have been integrated into lessons to get students to think about the world around them. Additionally, guided projects for cooperative learning are there to work on collaborative skills and serve as the culmination of different lessons. Now, in terms of how you can use these materials, not only does Big Wheel have the traditional paper student's book and teacher's book with your lesson plans and then additional information and ideas, but it also utilizes the innovative Navio platform. This allows both teachers and students to use their courses either on computers, on tablets, interactive whiteboards, or in hybrid settings or through distance teaching. Now, the Navio platform functions as a learning management system that allows you to track students' progress and access your additional resources. But it's also an interactive tool to be able to project the content of the book through Tap and Teach lessons in either a dynamic view or a page faithful view. And we also have all our audios and videos integrated into the pages. So now all your resources are in one place so that we can deliver clearly sequenced lessons with minimum preparation time. Now, for students, Navio allows students to keep practicing English at home. So you're strengthening the homeschool connection and motivating them to learn English outside the classroom. Students create their avatar and explore different islands that correspond with the units in their book, stopping at different stations to sing songs, watch videos, do tasks, review vocabulary, etc. Now, gamification has been proven to increase learner engagement, teach young learners to use real-world devices, and make learning fun. Now, finally, Big Wheel has a standard version with 6 units and a plus version with 8 units for centers to choose what will work better for you. Now, teachers also have an adaptation pack to get students used to the environment they're learning in, and assessment sheets to help us have clear objectives for assessment, and of course the Navio app to help us with all of this. Now, Navio's Teachers Resource Center gives you access to the multimedia to be able to download it if you need it, extra worksheets, letters to parents regarding the content we're seeing, as well as amazing resources for teacher training. Now, these resources include methodology videos by Carol Reed, which help teachers of varying levels of experience learn new techniques and ideas which would be useful for this age group. Carol Reed is also a speaker for Macmillan and regularly offers webinars on teaching this age group and using this material. Now, if you have any questions regarding Big Wheel and Infantile or pre-primary, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Now, I'm going to hand you over to Lucy, who is going to talk to you about primary.
Thanks very much, Sarah. Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here today, so thank you for the opportunity. And yeah, I'm going to talk to you now a little bit about Academy Stars, which is our 7-level series for primary students. Okay, so we have the 6 levels. We cover the 6 levels of primary here, but we also have a starter level, which is great for those students that you might have that are about 5 years old, and maybe they're not quite ready for reading and writing, so it's a kind of slimmer book and much simpler than the other levels. And for the rest of the 6 levels of primary, you have that there. It also comes with a pupils practice kit. This pupils practice kit is a way of giving homework to your students that's a bit more fun. This is a little interactive digital add-on for the students that they get with the code inside the book. And instead of giving the workbook homework and things like that, which already, if you're teaching in an academy, a lot of students feel that they have a lot of homework already and they might not want to do that. But I can tell you that students are really motivated with this little digital tool, and it gives them the opportunity to do a little bit of language practice outside the classroom, and also listen to the songs again and share it with their parents, which is really nice. It's also a method that you're not going to find in any of the schools, which is a big plus, because we don't want to be repeating books that you might have used in a school, therefore in the academy. So that's a big plus for that. So what can I tell you that's special about Academy Stars? So it's easy to teach material, and it's based on the traditional 4 skills approach, incorporating a modern and aspirational approach. One of the really unique things about it is the graphic grammar element. Okay, these are videos for every single piece of grammar that's introduced in the book. And as you know, I mean, you're all teaching kids probably most of the time, and you know that grammar is a difficult one for primary age students. Students until, when they're about 11, 12, they start to grasp what grammar is and these difficult concepts. But before that, through the primary age, they really don't understand, a concept like what tenses are and what a preposition is or anything like that. So we can't use those type of words for them. So we have to be very creative in the classroom. And really what we're doing with graphic grammar is helping you, giving the tools to help your students understand grammar. All right, so they're little videos that have building blocks that all come together with different colors associated with, for example, a verb might be blue and an adjective could be green. And so with those little memory things, they start to understand that words have different uses. And it's really great. I'm going to show you a graphic grammar video in a moment, so you get an opportunity to see that. But just to tell you a little bit more about some of the key features of Academy Stars. So as I said, it's a skills-based. So in each unit, you're going to find these 4 areas. Learning to learn boxes. So what is that? Not only are we teaching our students in primary, lots of obviously rich language, vocabulary and things like that, but we also want to teach them how to study. It's important that they know, how do I learn vocabulary? How do I prepare for writing? These things are really important. So these learning to learn areas are included in every unit. We also have Be a Star opportunities. These are kind of shining the spotlight on the student, making them the protagonist of the class, getting them to show what they've learned. And these Be a Star are kind of making them little actors within there. And, we have them dotted throughout the unit, and they're really nice. The Think About lessons are at the end of the unit, bringing together everything that they've learned during the unit and putting it into more critical thinking tasks and really having to think about what they're doing there. So those are the end of the activity. And then Me activities, which are personalization activities. You know already as teachers that personalization is one of the key elements to getting students to remember things. When you personalize, you make language more meaningful to the student. And so there's a lot of opportunity for that within Academy Stars. And also importantly, we have preparation for the Cambridge Young Learner exams. So you're going to have, KET, PET, and also the Starters, Movers and Flyers exam practice pages within each unit. Okay, I'm going to show you very quickly a graphic grammar video. So let's see. I'm going in now to the, I'm going into the teacher's presentation kit, so you can see how this is working live. This is a unit here, and we can go down here to the resources, and we've got a graphic grammar video here. I'm going to just try and share the sound.
Present simple. He or she. She lives in a house. She does not live in a flat. She doesn't live in a flat. She lives in a house. She doesn't live in a flat.
Okay, as you can see there, I mean, that's one of the lower levels. So you're looking at the present simple, very basic video, but it goes all the way. We have those all the way up to the higher levels. You can see that the different words had different colors. When it was negative, it was in red. This association really helps them. And then it gives them the contraction as well, so they can see that does not it goes to doesn't. I mean, that type of thing is very hard to do on a whiteboard or on a blackboard, whatever you have. So it really kind of, it's a tool for just presenting them without talking too much with complicated words that they might not understand. Okay, so again, like all of the things that we're showing you today, we have full paper versions of the book, but we also have the digital version of the book. So if your students prefer to work with digital books, they can do. We also have the practice kit in both of those versions. So the solutions for the teachers, you have the classroom presentation kit, which is where I just showed you the graphic grammar video from, a teacher's resource center, a test generator, and the digital pupils book. So within this teacher's resource center, you have everything that you need to create tests. We have a methodology handbook telling you all about the reason why, you know, the graphic grammar, for example, the different colors, what they mean, and how to use these in class. We have flashcards. They're interactive, so they're fantastic, and grammar, and lots of grammar and vocabulary worksheets. So it's a very complete series. I'm going to pass you back over now to Sarah, who's going to continue with our teenagers.
Thank you, Lucy. Just going to share my screen once again. And there we go. So yes, I'm going to be talking to you about teens, about our line of books called Optimize. Now, Optimize is a fantastic exam preparation for secondary age students and perfect for teachers and centers working towards Cambridge A2 Key, B1 Preliminary, and B2 First, but who also want to incorporate engaging topics students can actually personalize, as well as work on life skills and 21st century skills. So how does Optimize prepare teens for these exams? Well, Optimize works on developing exam skills and exam strategies to prepare them for exam success throughout the lessons. So using Optimize Your Exam Notes on the page to help both students and teachers with exam technique and understanding the why and how to approach different exam tasks, as well as being able to think critically about the topic itself and personalize it. And this is incredibly useful for teachers, especially as some of us have more or less experience with exam training, and this helps us to learn what our students will be dealing with and how best to prepare for it. Another key feature is that Optimize helps in building students' confidence by getting them to relate to the topic and understand what they're working with in terms of the exam, as well as providing connections with real life. Now, it's really important to see that the exam they might be facing is not just this scary concept of language certification, but that the material they're using to prepare for it also gives them the tools to express what they want to say and interact with the world around them outside the realm of their mother tongue. Now, as this is an exam preparation book, of course, the lessons have integrated exam tasks throughout, but also tips, strategies, and in-depth optimize your exam sections and practice exams. Now, these sections give students a better idea of the whole exam paper together and how to tackle these tasks, taking the mystery out of the exam and consolidating what students have been learning. Now, something that we've seen during the move to online was that sometimes the amount of content we can actually teach can be limited. And in some cases, there's been a greater degree of learner autonomy and independence. Optimize includes many different resources like language worksheets, which can be used for review or challenge learners, but also guides on how to use the flipped classroom approach if this is something teachers would like to incorporate into their lessons to save time. Now, this has students working on the language at home through the Talk to Me videos, which frees up time for language production and fluency work in class. Or alternatively, like the graphic grammar, it could also be used in class to approach grammar in a different way. Now, the videos are teens using the language in real life context that reflect why the students are learning language for certain exam tasks. Now, we're going to see a short example of B1 preliminary. So just give me 1 sec to reshare. So I'm showing you the digital book as is, and we're going to move to the Talk to Me section or to the grammar section. So this is Optimize B1 Unit 3. And as you can see, all of the answers, all of the audios, everything is already incorporated into the book. Both the teachers and the students have this same version of the book to be able to use in class or use as a digital book at home or to project onto their screen as I'm doing now. Now we're going to be looking at Talk to Me. Oops.
This article is really interesting. It's about learning to surf on holiday.
Cool. What do you think about surfing holidays, Jamie?
I've never been surfing, and I don't ever want to go surfing. My mum's been trying to get me to go on a sporting holiday for years, but I'm not really keen on that stuff.
Isn't Safi on holiday at the moment?
Yeah, she's been in Portugal for a week.
I bet she's been lying on the beach, swimming in the sea, eating delicious food.
Visiting ruined castles and bird watching. And I'm interested in castles and birds, so what?
I'm looking forward to my holiday. Maybe we could message Safi and ask her what she's been doing.
All right, so I'm going to pause it there. So that would be an example of the B1 speaking video. So working towards the discussion using collaborative language. And now we've also included speaking test videos for students to be able to watch other candidates under exam conditions and be able to understand the format and process better of the speaking exam so they know what to expect. Now back to the concept of flexibility. Optimize has paper and digital combinations of the student's book and workbook to be able to mix and match as needed. Everything has a digital option, including the student's book. However, one of the most popular combinations has been of having the paper student's book with the online workbook, as it allows students to work on their English at home and for teachers to monitor progress to see where students are doing really well and where they might be struggling. Now, students can work on the language seen in the unit, in addition to doing exam tasks, writings, and listenings, and have their answers marked, and teachers are able to see a progress report. Now, teachers, of course, have their teacher's book with tips, teaching notes, interactive digital students' books to project or to share their screen, and extra support on teaching exam students and mixed ability classes. Now, finally, the authors, Malcolm Mann and Steve Taylor-Knowles, are also regular Macmillan speakers and continuously give webinars and teacher training on how to prepare teens for external exams, as well as how to make the most out of the optimized course books for teachers. So now I'm going to hand you back over to Lucy, who will be talking to you about books for adults.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay, so for adults, we have a pretty new series called Macmillan English Hub. And, you know, this year it's been really great to have Macmillan English Hub because it's so prepared for the digital world. And little did we know when we brought out this book how much that would be necessary. So a lot of the people that have been using this book during the last year have been very grateful for the amount of digital support it offers both students and teachers. Okay, so obviously for the teacher, you have your presentation kit, you have all the resources and test generators that we offer with our other books. But for the student, it has a fantastic application which students can continue doing practice outside the classroom. This also links up with a learning management system with the teacher so you can see what they've been doing. But it's also fantastic because it covers all areas. It's not just doing, you know, grammar and vocabulary and listening and speaking. It's also doing speaking and writing, two skills that you might not think would be possible on an application, but they are. So it's a really complete book. We're very happy with how it's going this year, and we're starting to get some great feedback. So just so to tell you what makes it a little bit different, here are some of the key points that I'll be going into right now. Okay, so the first one, the teacher support. Now, when we think about teacher support with a book, we often think about the teacher's book. And I have to say that the teacher's book for Macmillan English Hub is fantastic. People are telling us how much they like it, how useful they find it. And we're going a bit back to basics with this book in terms that we've included photocopiables in the back, you know, like in the old days where you didn't have to go online and download everything. Obviously, we have that option too. Everything's available in the resource centre, but it's nice to have those photocopiables there for you to grab and go and photocopy before you walk into class. Apart from that, as you can see here, it's an interleaved teacher's book. So you've got on one side the student's book, and on the other side, the teacher's book. And what that means is you've got everything, you just open up your double page and there it is, everything to go. So you start with your lead-ins, you've got ideas for warmers, you've got ideas how to introduce each topic, you've even got ideas for games and methodology ideas for, you know, for introducing different topics. But you also have the answers written in, each of the exercises, and in the audio script, underlined exactly where you need to find the answers. So this kind of interleaved approach is really useful, I think. Now, not only are we offering teacher support just within the series and within the teacher's book, but we also have our page, Macmillan Advantage, which has all of the activities, all of the downloadable stuff for Macmillan English Hub is there, but you also have extra stuff. So if you're teaching primary classes, secondary exams, whatever you're teaching, you can download other materials for the different areas. It also has, back to school activities or different festival activities that you might want to download as well. So it's a really great website. It's a premium website for any of you that are using Macmillan books, and we'll give you access. Now back to Macmillan English Hub. One of the important parts are your objectives. Obviously, when you start a course, when you start a unit, you have very clear objectives with your students. Now, we set the objectives, obviously, in the book with the contents page, but at the beginning of every unit, we really focus the students on what their objectives are. And we recommend that the teachers bring the students focus the students on this at the beginning of the unit, but also at the end. They should use this as a checklist. Have they reached these objectives? Can they do all of these things now? Do they feel confident? So this is a really important feature of Macmillan English Hub. Communication. Now, this is an area where the current users of Hub are telling us that they're really happy because the speaking is key. I think I mentioned this in Academy Stars. You know, personalization and speaking is really important for us when we're learning a language. Now, this first page spread here, it's a grammar and vocabulary page. You're not really often having the opportunity for speaking, but you're given opportunity to speak, to use the language all the time. And that's a really important feature of learning new language. So not only there, but we also have Communication Hub activities. These are pair work, group work activities, which break up the class a little bit and have some fun with what they've learned. And finally, we also have some little speaking cards. This is in the video booklet, and they make great little preparation if they want them to prepare a monologue or, get them to speak in groups. These are little practice cards as well. So there's a huge amount of speaking and communication within the book, and I think you'll find it's great. So moving over to the audiovisual material, most books have this now, and with Hub it's no different. We have 2 to 3 videos, depending on the unit, within each unit. So depending on the book, the level, sorry, in each unit. So one of them is the Cafe Hub, and this is at the end of the unit. And with the Cafe Hub, what we're doing is we're practicing the language that has been learned into a functional language activity, which they get to see. It's a mini series. So you've got these 5 characters. They're from different countries, they've got different accents, and you follow them throughout the whole book. So it's like their little Netflix miniseries, and they learn lots of useful phrases, and then they get the opportunity to put it into practice. So that's at the end of every unit. But also we have a video booklet, and this has videos from The Guardian. Really importantly, we're exposing our students to authentic English. We can't just only have the textbook English, but they're getting that exposure to authentic English as well. These are documentary style videos, and they're obviously very interesting and motivating for the students. Digital flexibility, this is our main topic of the day, but again, you have access to everything. So you can have both digital student book, workbook option or paper, but you also have the app, which Sarah will be telling you more detail at the end of the session. But this is a really motivating app. You've got challenge mode, you've got everything at the touch of your hand, and it works fantastically on the mobile phone. Okay, and that is Macmillan English Hub. I'll pass you back over now to Sarah.
Thank you, Lucy. So I'm going to be talking to you about exams. So back to sharing my screen. All right. So we're going to be looking at our best-selling Ready For series, which has been helping students prepare for their exams for 20 years. Now, this revised 4th edition of the well-loved Ready For B2 First continues to provide the in-depth exam training for which the course is known. But it's been updated with improved page design, book layout, and new innovative digital features for both teachers and students. Its big sister, Ready For Advanced, is currently in its 3rd edition, with the new edition coming next year. Now, this book is really quite special for us, and especially for Madrid teachers, as Roy Norris, the author, also lives and works in Madrid and is still an active teacher in Vallecas, and in fact tests out his materials on his own students. Roy also worked at International House Madrid for some time, and the 4th edition teacher's book author Ethan Mansier is also from IH Madrid. So I guess we could say this is a homegrown book, and it really demonstrates that it knows our students and what they need to prepare for the exam. And on a personal level, the Ready For series was my first exam book series and is what taught me how to teach exams. So it holds a special place in my heart. Now, we're going to look at the book itself. Now, Ready For First has been a comprehensive, reliable preparation course for 20 years because of its range of activities, which systematically develop skills for success at the Cambridge exams. The units themselves are full of exam tasks in line with the B2 exam requirements to give students as much preparation and practice as possible in the style of the real exam, including use of English sections, which help students prepare for this challenging exam paper. The new edition also goes from 14 to 12 units now, reducing the amount of units from previous editions and redistributing the language throughout the book. You'll also probably notice, if you've used Ready4 before in your centers, that the new design of the book is fresh, it's attractive, it's contemporary, and you'll see that the pages are lighter and there's a clear lesson path. So now let's talk about what's in the units. The beginning of each unit states the objectives very clearly, much like Hub, including the key language and exam tasks covered so that students know exactly what they'll be learning and practicing and what they will have achieved by the end of the unit. Now, in addition to the attractive photography, the unit openers engage students from the get-go with speaking tasks to jump into the topic and generate interest and personalize the topic, which is super important. Now, more speaking practice in general has been added with a tighter connection to the receptive exam tasks like listening and reading, as well as with extension speaking activities at the back of the book to continue working on that skill. A brand new addition to Ready for B2 First is the pronunciation section at the end of the units, which is something you don't find in most exam books. Now, this is to help students gain confidence, to communicate effectively, and also to get them ready for the collaborative tasks on their exam, as well as improve their pronunciation and interaction marks, working on things like connected speech and intonation. Also, new listening tasks have been included, while others have been re-recorded to be aligned with the difficulty of the Cambridge B2 First exam, including more regional accents, faster speeds, and more distractors to get students as ready as possible for the listening exam. Now, this is something that we sometimes find when we're invigilating exams or listening to past papers, that students get used to this RP accent in the classroom, and then on exam day, they find themselves hit with, for example, a Welsh accent with 7 distractors. So we're bearing this in mind with the new edition. And also to add to that, over half the reading tasks are new as well, to have a more contemporary feel and pique students' interest. Grammar has been rearranged so that the language focus in the units are a little bit shorter to introduce the grammar, but then they lead you to the new Ready for Grammar section, which has the sort of reference tables that students love on one side, and then additional practice on the other side. Now, this also echoes our Macmillan English Hub book so that students going up the levels with Hub will recognize the formatting of Ready4 as well. And of course, students always have the option of using the optional workbook for even more practice. Now, Ready for B2 First includes exam preparation throughout the units, but we also have specific Ready4 sections between units that specialize in a particular test of the B2 exam. There's a Ready for Use of English, a Ready for Reading, a Ready for Listening, a Ready for Speaking, and Ready for Writing. And it gives students the experience of that test paper and goes into more detail about exam strategy and what to expect in the real exam. And something that's really fun about these, like in the Ready for Speaking, is that you get to hear different possible answers, and they offer students the opportunity to analyze the different answers and how to improve them. So this is really, really useful practice to consolidate the exam papers that students are practicing for, similar to Optimize for Teens with its Optimize Your Exam sections. Now, Ready for B2 First, like Hub, also has an interleave teacher's book to make teachers' lives easier. So on one side of the page, you have your lead-ins, guided information, how to extend activities, suggestions for different activities on the theme. And then on the other page in the student's book, you have all the answers written in already for a quick reference. Ethan Mansur from IH has done a fantastic job on this. And these sorts of things really help newer teachers learn how to teach the exam themselves, as well as provide additional ideas for more experienced exam teachers. Now, I'm going to show you the digital in a minute, but first to let you know that going back to the topic of flexible teaching solutions, Ready4 also uses the same teacher's app that Hub uses. And this way you have everything in the same place, so you can easily jump from one class to another. The teacher's app works in all situations, face-to-face, hybrid, online, distance teaching, and allows you to not only project the book with its audios and videos and answers, but use the interactive functions to make the teaching more fun and more dynamic, as well as working as a learning management system where we can create classes, we can send homework if we want to, and we can also check our students' progress. We can also access our video conferencing tools through the app now. Students, like with Hub, also have a students app, which comes with their book where they can access their digital content on their phones, laptops, tablets, and have exercises to practice based on the language seen in the units. Now, we are going to see the digital. One sec to change screens. All right, so this is my teacher's app. So this is the tool that I'd be using to teach. I am currently teaching Macmillan English Hub, so you're going to see some of the things that I've already used. Now we're going to go into, for example, for Ready For. With all of the books that we have on our teacher's app, we have the option as teachers to project our students' book, our workbook, and the mobile phone app that students have so we can see what they're working on as well. So we're going to go into the day-to-day, which is going into the students' book. We have all of our units here. We're going to choose the lesson that we're teaching, for example, relative relationships. And today we're going to be working on the unit opener and then going into the first lesson. Now, the book allows you to see things in page faithful mode. So you see it like this, and you're able to zoom into different components. This is really, really handy when you're teaching online like I am right now. So students know exactly where you are in the book. And given the fact that when we're teaching from home or teaching from different environments, we might have more distractions, more things happening. In my case, I have a very friendly cat who likes to distract me in the background. So this helps us know exactly what we're looking at. We also have the option to zoom in if you're teaching from a classroom that's fairly large. And then we're going to go into the lesson. Now, as you can see, we have all of this, which is our page faithful mode, so we can see the book as is, but we also have these little interactive icons, which basically open up the activity in a more dynamic way. So it's the same activity, it's just slightly more interactive. Just a note, students who are using the digital students book rather than their paper book would also see the activities like this. They'd see it the same way that you're seeing it now, and they'd go into their exercise like this, and they would do their exercise in interactive mode. And we are actually able to see how students did on the activity itself. We can show our answers one by one. We can show them all at the same time. If we're a student and we're writing things in, just writing at random, it'll also let us know what's correct and what's incorrect. All right. Now, also in the case of the multimedia, so things like audios and videos for Ready For, as well as for Macmillan English Hub, we have the interactive mode as our way to actually visualize and listen to the multimedia. So here, for example, let me just make sure I'm sharing sound. Yes. So I'm going to play the audio.
Speaker 1. Before Paul started school, he used to come round to us every morning while his mother, Linda,
And we also have the option of showing the transcript if we wanted to, and the transcript highlights exactly where it is, where it's playing right now. And we're able to jump around as well. This is really, really handy when you have a student who's heard a particular phrase and they might not be able to replicate it exactly. They're not completely sure what they've heard. So this helps us check really where it was in the text or what it is that they're talking about, as well as being able to identify distractors and things like that. So we can work on those sorts of skills by using our interactive transcript. I'm going to close out of there. Now, other functions that we have our little tools on the side to be able to take notes, to highlight, to write extra questions. So for example, if we wanted to write an additional question because we have fast finishers in the class, we can do that. And then as teachers, what we also have are certain tools that allow us to use the Teachers app as a learning management system. So we can create a class and we can associate our students to that class. The students just hit a button on their app called Join Class and it puts them right in our group. We can also assign homework. So this homework is a selection of different things. You're seeing my real classes right now. So we're going to choose, for example, Macmillan English Hub C1. And then we can choose which students we want to send our homework to. We can take students off of this. So this allows us to tailor what we're sending, who we're sending it to. For example, if we have someone who's joined the course a little bit later, we can only send them past homework. It's completely up to us. We have access to everything. So for these students, I'm going to assign them, I have the choice between the digital workbook, digital students book, and their phone app. So I can send them different contents. And for students who have joined our class, if they have their notifications activated on their phone, once I sent them homework, they'll get a little notification that says Sarah Collins has sent you homework. This is completely optional, but it's something that you can use if you want to. All right, so finally, we can also check the progress of our students so we can see how they're actually doing. So just a reminder, this is both for Macmillan English Hub as well as for Ready4. Now, I know I'm clicking through everything quite quickly because I'm just showing you how the app works. But if you're currently using this app in your centers, or if you'd like to start using this app in your centers, please do get in touch. I'm really happy to help out, to train teachers, train directors, and make sure everyone knows what they're doing and all the different possibilities that you have. Okay, so I'm going into the progress checker. So I'm actually going to see how my students are doing. All right, so you're going to see my real life students. So this is where I can check if they've actually done the homework that I set them 2 days ago. So I'm going to go into the feature of one of my students, and I can see all the activities that she's done. And I can actually go into the unit itself, the lessons that correspond with that unit. And I can see from here, the grammar, for example, comparatives and superlatives, that's where she's struggling a little bit. Pronunciation and listening is okay, but the grammar that we've been working on is a little bit of a struggle. And now I can actually go in and see what it is that she's done with these activities. So if I wanted to see where she was making mistakes, I also have that ability. So I can see here, fantastic. And then if we go into grammar, this one, which was a little more difficult, I can see that she struggled to form these sentences. This is actually what the students would see on their Students app as well. So they would see these exercises as is. And if I wanted to, I could export this information onto an Excel or to a CSV. Now, this progress tracker has become really, really useful for business classes as well, because this actually gives us a progress report that we can provide to certain companies, or if we wanted to do tutorials with students based on having their concrete evidence, tangible evidence of how they're doing. Finally, final notes with the Teachers app, we've just updated the online lessons feature, which allows us to, from the app, directly connect to Zoom, Google Meet, and Microsoft Teams. So we can open up our accounts here so we don't have to do thousands of clicks and sharing screens. We're also going to be able to marsupializar the Teachers app. That means we can actually put the Teachers app into our Microsoft Teams accounts, Google Meets, and Zoom accounts, so that we can share things more easily with our students and make single sign-on an option for teachers, so we don't have to have lots of different accounts floating around. Now, final components I just want to show you quickly is the Student app. Now, the Student app is what students have for Ready4, for Macmillan English Hub, and this is where they see their digital students book, their digital workbook if they have a license for that, and their preparation and practice activities, as well as their Student Resource Center. In their Resource Center, they have access to the audios and videos from their students book if they wanted to repeat them. And they have tons of different exercises. So we're going to go into, for example, Unit 2, Lesson 2.1. And as you can see, we have preparation activities that help us kind of get into the idea of what we're going to be looking at in class that day. And we also have practice activities meant for after class, which is grammar practice, vocabulary, pronunciation, reading, and listening. There are also other practice exercises, which are speaking and writing. Now, we can do this in normal mode. We can also do it in challenge mode. Just to go into a reading practice, students are able, by the way, to repeat all of these activities as many times as they want to. So they can improve their marks and just continue working on the go. With Ready4, students have access on their apps to same sorts of questions, but also 60 quick fire exam questions, as well as 2 mock exams. So they can do all of that on their app. This app can be downloaded onto your phone or your tablet, or you can use it on your laptop in your browser like I'm doing if you want things to be a little bit bigger, but it's been designed to function on phones. All right, and I think that's everything regarding the digital. Now I'm going to go back. All right. And thank you very, very much for having us today, for listening to our programs for Macmillan 360 Degrees. And I think we were going to open to questions. Lucy, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I was just writing in the chat box just to see if anybody does have any questions. You know, either you can open your microphone, you can write a little message to us in a text box, or afterwards you can drop us an email as well. That's absolutely fine, you know, whatever way you want. But we're here right now, and we've got a few more minutes before we pass over to the next ones. Are there already 4 books okay for teens? That's a good question. Sarah, do you want to deal with that?
Ready for books are very good for teens. So they've been updated as well. The technological aspect, especially using the app, has made it something really attractive for teens as well. So they're good for First for Schools as well.
Yeah, we have a lot of the First for Schools activity. That one of the main differences is in the writing, and Roy has included writing for First for Schools in there. In fact, we have a lot of big academies using it for teens because it's such a good book. So yeah. Any other questions? It's nice to communicate with you all. We know you're there, but we can't communicate with you. So yeah, any questions or comments or anything, please do write them in.
And also, just to remind you, if you have any questions, if you are already using some of these platforms, already using these materials, and you need help, or you want to know where things are, you want to know where you can find the worksheets, how you can have access to Advantage, please do get in touch. We're very, very happy to help. And like I said, I'm also teaching some of these materials too, so hopefully that will be useful to show you some tips and tricks on how to use the content. And you have my email up there as well, which is sarah.collins@macmilleneducation.com. And you also have Lucy's email, which is lucy.thistlethwaite@macmilleneducation.com.
I have a question here. Are there any practice tests in the back of the new Ready for First book? So there's 2 whole mock exams, aren't there, that the students have access to. They have access to them through their digital material. Obviously, so yeah, the quick answers to that, yes, there are 2 full exams in there. Yeah. Anything else?
No, I guess we will hand over to Miguel and Maria Jose once again. And if you have any other questions, do feel free to get in touch.
Thank you. Miguel, we can't hear you. Maybe you need to activate the audio.
Miguel, no se te escucha.
Arriba de todo,
Miguel, ¿no se escucha?
Claro, es que no se escucha, Miguel.
Bueno, quería agradeceros esta estupenda exposición, que habéis hecho unos materiales muy buenos, la verdad. Yo no soy pedagoga y me sorprende, ¿no?, que cómo ha llegado a crearse estos materiales tan interactivos, ¿no?, y que se puede jugar tanto, ¿no?, y tener tan completo, ¿no? Pueden ser, ¿no? Pues como veo que no hay más preguntas, pues nada, pasamos, si queréis, ya a la siguiente ponencia de Cambridge, de Mar y Stuart. Bueno, lo mismo, decir que son unos ponentes de lujo y que es una suerte tenerlos aquí. Así es que cuando queráis. Miguel, ¿se te oye ya?
Sí.
Ya,
Hola,
vale, solucionado entonces, ¿no?
Pues
vale, si tienes algo que decir, él es, pues como he dicho en un principio, es un miembro activo de la Junta de ACEDIN y bueno, pues si quieres comentar cualquier cosa y si no, bueno...
Dar de nuevo las gracias a Sarah Collins y a Lucy Thistlethwaite por la extraordinaria presentación que nos han hecho de Macmillan, y dar la bienvenida a Mark Meredith y Stuart Binney con la nueva presentación que nos van a hacer desde Cambridge con el Blending Exam Preparation with Digital Tools. Bienvenidos y muchas gracias por esta participación en las jornadas pedagógicas de ACEDIN, que es una iniciativa nueva y que posteriormente vamos a tener más secuencias de jornadas pedagógicas para que sirvan a conocer los nuevos materiales en estas nuevas situaciones que se están produciendo con el blended learning, con alumnos en presencial, alumnos a distancia, y cómo poder combinar y ofrecer los mejores materiales, los recursos para nuestros profesores, para que la enseñanza de inglés y de otros idiomas siga mejorando y dando un buen servicio a la sociedad. Muchas gracias a ambos por vuestra presentación y bienvenidos. Podéis comenzar.
Hello, thank you, Miguel. Thank you, everybody. Hi, nice to meet you all. Nice to get a chance to speak with everybody, and thank you for taking the time to join us this morning, or this afternoon as it might be. My name's Mark. I'm one of our training department for Cambridge based in Madrid, and I'm here with my colleague Stuart.
I am Stuart. I work with the assessment team and the Cambridge University team that produce all of the preparation materials for the Cambridge exams that you'll be familiar with. We look a little bit like the Chemical Brothers.
Do you like that with the DJ mics, the DJ headsets? As a 90s reference. So the plan for today then, I'm just going to share my screen. If hopefully you'll be able to see it. If you can let me know that you can see the screen clearly. Okay, that should pop up any second.
Got it, Mark.
Perfect. Okay, lovely. So the plan for today then, we're going to go through some of how we as teachers can support our learners in a blended environment. And we're going to look at some of the resources that we have available for you from Cambridge. But to start off, what we're going to try and do is look at a little Mentimeter. So I'm going to share with you all in the chat box a link. If you could jump across. Oh, funnily enough, my chat box is not appearing. There we go. Okay, if I share this with you, you should be able to see a link in the chat box. If you click on the link, you'll jump across to a Mentimeter or use the QR code. And what we'd like you to do is to fill out these, your opinions. Which of these are most important for our learners? So we're thinking about that blended environment. Okay, I'll jump across to the presentation. So you should be able to see it. So it's quite simple. Click on the link and you can interact on screen with us. So the question is, which of these are most important for our learners? Is it autonomous learning, challenge, real life scenarios, exam training, or digital preparation? Okay, great. So we're valuing challenge. I like that. Real life scenarios.
Stuff.
Interesting. We'll give you a few more seconds to have a say.
What do we mean by digital preparation, Mark? I guess we mean the ability to prepare for examinations, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
In digital devices, yeah.
I think so. I think when we talk about digital preparation, it can be, I think that varies, doesn't it? It can also be how prepared we are to work in the digital environment, how prepared our learners are, how familiar they are as well. Great. So it seems like the real world, real life scenarios is pretty fundamental there. Trying to take our learning out of the class and into that real world for our learners.
Yeah, and I think making learners feel that what they're learning is valuable in everyday scenarios, not just simply learning, things to get them through exams, but learning that's really helping them to communicate. Okay,
great, lovely. Taking them out into the open world, as it might be, to use a pun.
Good cue there, Mark. We'll come back to that later.
So the big question then is, how can we as teachers better support our learners in a blended classroom? And really that comes down to what we've identified as 3 to 4 key points, okay? And they are easy access, scaffolding, variety, and meaningful activities. Throughout this session, we're going to look at these 4 points, and we're going to sort of demonstrate different ways and resources we can use to try and help our learners function equally at home as in class. And we're going to start off with easy access. I think easy access for me is probably the most difficult one nowadays, having so many resources in so many different places. We want to make sure that everything is easily accessible. And that comes down to being able to register and sign on really quickly, really simply, not having too many complicated logins or using various platforms. Also, helping our learners access their materials quickly. We don't want them to get lost in these online digital spaces. And thinking away from our learners and back to us as teachers to make sure we have all of our resources easily accessible and in one place. At Cambridge, we have redeveloped our online learning space, and we're using now the Cambridge One. Some of you may have heard of this platform. What it is it's a complete rework, and it is completely based around teachers and learners' experiences. What does it do for us? Well, it does exactly what we just mentioned. It allows us easy access to all of our teaching and learning materials in one place. It also helps us get a wider range of activities to our learners so that they're more engaged in the classroom. It's got gamified features, gamification, which helps encourage our learners, motivate them. And for us as teachers, also, there is more meaningful and relevant and actionable data that we can work from. So what I'd like to do just to start off is just to jump into Cambridge One so you can get a view of what it actually looks like in practice. So this is where tech comes in. Okay, let me just come out of this and I'll jump into our dashboard. So this is my dashboard. The registration is a 4-step process. I won't run through that now. Have a log on to cambridgeone.org and you'll be able to find it there. So what is this? This is the dashboard. These are all of my classes. Okay, if we scroll down, you can see I've got my schools and all of my resources at one click. Okay. Have here Open World, which is one of the courses we're going to be exploring today. Okay, what do I have? I have my class data, my assignments, and my materials all there. So I can go straight in at one click, easily accessible to see what's going on. I think the first point is probably just to go into a class and see what it looks like. This one I've actually set up this morning for you guys to have a look at from scratch. So it's what you'll be entering into. Okay, here we go. So as we can see, this is your class. You have at the top your class data. I don't have any students at the moment. I'll show you some students in another class in a second. I have the ability to assign assignments straight away, and I have all of my materials. If I click on materials, there it is. We've got practice, we've got tests, we've got our presentation software for online or in class. We've got access to our teachers' resources and also a digital copy of our book. So it's there, it's all at one click. If I just show you in practice, there's also, you have Practice Extra is again another feature we're going to be exploring in a bit, and Test and Train, another feature. These are extra resources outside of the course books linked to our learning so that we can help our learners in as many ways as possible. Okay, so at an overview, that is where we keep all of our data now in Cambridge One. I'm going to go back to the main screen and I'm going to jump into another class just to show you the type of data we can access. Because more and more, being aware of how our learners are performing is influencing how we're teaching. It's helping us understand where our learners need more support. I'm just going to jump down to a class from one of our other courses. I think I will go into Collaborate. Let's go into class data here. So this this class has a couple of students here. We can see we've got Pablo and we've got Sophia. Pablo is clearly not making the effort he should be doing. And we have Sophia, who seems to be cracking on really well. I'm going to jump in. Well, at first, we've got Practice Extra here, so we can see how they're performing in that platform. That's a self-study tool. We'll show you later, like I mentioned. As I said, we go in, we get the average score, we get how long they've spent online, we get which tasks they've completed and how well they've performed in those tasks. As I said, we got the gamification element in there as well. They get gold medals or bronze medals. Okay, and the data we collect is first score, best score. Now, first score obviously is the most important one because that's before they've seen the questions. That gives us a more accurate reflection of how well they're performing in that activity. best score lets us know how far they got ahead in the end. So it's repeating the activity. They're free to repeat it as many times as they want until they manage to get themselves a gold medal. Again, here you see first score and best score. So we've got a nice access to our students' performance, again, all at one click. Okay, there's also games here, which we can see how they're performing and all those little details as well. So if I go back, I'm going to jump back across to Cambridge 1, and then I'll jump into the PowerPoint again. What's the message here? The message is that our resources are going onto this platform. They're going to be super easy to access for everybody. They're going to be there, they're going to be flexible, and they're continuously being updated. There's an iterative process there, trying to continually update and improve everything for learners as well as teachers. What I will do quickly is just show you the student platform. So this is actually the learner dashboard, uncomplicated. It's all there in front of them. They have their homework when it pops up, they have their access to their tools, and they have access to their progress as well to see how well they're performing. And it's all easy to connect to. With one access code, we share that, and they're straight in, join our class. Okay, I'm going to jump back to the PowerPoint. So what are we trying to do with Cambridge 1? We're trying to make sure that everybody has a seamless approach and a seamless process to their learning. And that moves us across to scaffolding. Okay, so we've looked at easy access, how accessing is important, but a lot of the time our learners go away and they're working at home or they're working in a blended environment. We need to make sure that everything is structured enough for them to be able to participate. We don't want to leave learners behind. We want everybody to have an entry point into their learning. And key to that, courses should make sure that home learning is just as easy to follow as in-class learning. Resources should support both. They should support home and class and reach our overall aims, and it should be seamless. There should be no distinction. It shouldn't be confusing. I'm going to pass across to Stuart now, and he'll run through some points with you. So I'll stop sharing, Stuart, if you want to take it over.
Sure thing. Right, let's just do that. Okay, are we on my screen? Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so thanks, Mark. So let's look at scaffolding in the context of what we're talking about today, which is exam preparation. And I want to sort of first of all think about scaffolding. What do we exactly mean by scaffolding? And then have a look at how that might work, traditionally with an exam task, and how that then can blend into a digital tool, if you like, for a teacher, or a digital resource for a learner. So I'm showing you a task on the screen at the moment, and there's 4 questions you can see there. If you like, you can try and answer these questions now. So this is a typical exam task from a Cambridge English qualification. I'll tell you, it's from level C1 Advanced. And just have a quick look at it. You don't need to read it all, but have a quick skim of it. What exam part is this, or what exam skill is it? What paper is it? If you know the part, you can say the part. If you don't know, I'll test Mark.
Put me on the spot, Stuart. Listening part, I'm not sure, 3?
Nearly, yeah, nearly. Good. So this is from a Cambridge C1 Advanced exam. It's a listening part 4, I think. So the idea is, of course, this is an exam task. It's a replication of an exam task. Obviously, it's testing listening. And within that topic, this particular task is testing perhaps things like understanding of a speaker's opinion, or a speaker's point of view, a speaker's feeling. And the topic, can you see what the topic is? Put something in the chat box.
We've got a lot of people doubting, I think. Excellent.
Shopping. It could be shopping. I think there's a more obvious one than shopping, perhaps. It's definitely connected to shopping. You've all gone quiet. I guess you're all out there shopping on Friday morning. Maybe you're on Amazon right now. Come back. Okay, it's not shopping. It could be shopping. Shopping's related. This particular topic, just as an example, is I think money. You can see at the top in the question, or maybe you can't see it very clearly, but it's you're going to listen to people talking about events and services related to money, and of course shopping, I'm sure, is one of those. Okay, so that's the topic. So if you think about any exam part, any exam task that you might practice in the classroom or online with your students, we start with the topic, we start with the exam part, but how do we scaffold that towards sort of preparation and confidence on behalf of the students? So, I'll just show you an example here, but this is pretty obvious stuff to you. I think that, we would generally start with a kind of a lead into the topic, perhaps, of the exam task if we were practicing this in the classroom. So we might use something visual. This is an example here where we've got some talking points for your students to think about online or offline. And you can see in this particular example, there's I think the idea here is, here you can see on the screen, these are particular currencies that we used in the past before money or instead of money, in place of money. So you can see at the top is salt. I think it's salt. You can see the second one is shells. And the third one, I think, is probably tea. And the fourth one, I don't know, I guess it looks like cheese, but I didn't know cheese was a currency in the past. So that's the sort of talking, the leading point for your students. You might show these pictures in the classroom, or your teachers might, if you're not teaching at the moment. You might show it on an online class, an offline class, using digital tools, using traditional, just open your book and have a look at it. That gets you into the topic. And then, of course, what we would do generally in a classroom, it's all about scaffolding, right? So we would probably start with a couple of sort of gentle listening tasks that get students to think about opinions, to get them to think about particular sort of general information around this topic. And in these examples, you can see, I won't read them out to you, but you can see there's just some general listening questions to get them into the topic. Okay, and then, of course, as you would expect in the teacher's notes for an exam preparation task, there would be a lot of advice on what to do with this particular task. So here you can see we're already starting to get learners into the good habit of sort of exam strategies that they would bring to this task. So you can see I've said here, underlining the keywords, for example, okay? Thinking about synonyms and paraphrases, etc., etc. Okay, so all the usual sort of techniques that we would use to scaffold an exam task in a classroom, to prepare, to get students ready with the right type of input in terms of language, in terms of grammar, vocabulary, collocations, useful phrases, but also, as you can see here, in terms of the actual techniques themselves. So this is the sort of the training part, if you like. And I don't know if you can see that very clearly, but you can see here there's a suggestion to the students about a couple of techniques they could apply to this particular listening question. So if they like, they could focus on answering one question per listening. And remember, this is part 4, where there are 2 questions. Or they could focus on both questions in the first listening and then use the second listening to check their answers. So there's a couple of ideas of how to approach this exam task that students can immediately apply. And then there's a sort of a task that's even more similar, but not exactly the same as the exam task. Again, it's all about the guidance and building up confidence. So these tasks here, if you're familiar with part 4 of Speaking of Cambridge 1 Advanced, they're not exactly the same. They're almost there. So there's only 5, I think, in the real exam. There are 8, I think, right? So it's just a gentle training sort of environment for the students to give them that confidence. That's scaffolding, in my mind. That's scaffolding, right? It's about wrapping those ideas around a task in a class to help students navigate, prepare for the task in terms of strategies, exam techniques, but also to prepare them in terms of things they might hear, vocabulary they might use, in grammar they might adopt around that particular topic. So I'm going to just show you now this sort of digital part of this. Mark's shown you a little bit already on our platform on Cambridge One, and this is what our presentation software looks like. Can you see that, Mark? Yeah, okay, great. Okay, so it's just basically here, this is the presentation what the teacher would use. I'm sure you've seen examples like this before. And this just shows you that scaffolded task there around the listening part 4, which you can see at the top there, yeah? I could just zoom in on that just to show you that part there that we've actually been looking at, right? Okay, so when we talk about scaffolding an exam task, as I just have, we can go further. We might scaffold that particular exam training. So this page might be scaffolded within a class, whether you're online, using something like this to share with your students, or you're offline using this at the front of a class, or maybe you're just using the traditional print books. But, you know, we might scaffold this actual page. So in a typical class, we might scaffold that exam training task with a more general kind of introduction. So if I go back a bit here, you can see here's a sort of an introduction to a topic, to money. There's lots of you know, ideas for getting your students communicating immediately at the beginning of a class. There's grammar activities, vocabulary inputs before they then go to that scaffolded exam task. So there can be different layers of scaffolding, I think, is what I'm saying there. And ultimately, all of that training in an exam preparation scenario, all of that training is, of course, counting towards, as you would expect, is counting towards that exam practice. And here you see at the end of this particular unit of work, there is that task again. It's the same task, it's listening part 4, but this time they have the full task to practice. Okay, so it's a proper task. It's got all of the tips and facts listed there to give them extra help. But this is the part, they've finished the training part, they've done scaffolding in the class, now they're practicing the actual test type. And they still have additional tips and facts to help both the teachers and the learners at the top. So that's how I sort of think about scaffolding, and that's this is a little taste of how you might blend it into you know, the type of teaching you're doing at the moment. This is designed to be at the front of the classroom on a big screen, but equally it's designed to be used in a sort of sharing scenario if you're using sort of a remote teaching or a hybrid method of delivering material to your students at the moment. Okay, so let's just go back. And Mark, over to you.
Cheers, Stuart. Yeah, so we've looked at scaffolding and how, so we've looked at 2 points now. We've looked at easy access, getting them onto the platforms, getting them into the books and into the learning. Then we've moved across and we've looked at scaffolding. How are we going to support their learning? And I think the next big step is then variety. How can we provide engaging, dynamic activities and tasks for those learners? So it's fundamental really to engaging our learners at home and in a blended environment that the resources should be diverse and engaging. We don't want to bore them. If it's just a repetition and repeating and drilling, they're probably not going to do the work, or they're not going to give it their all. But if it's diverse, if it's different, if it's engaging, then we're more likely to have them active in their learning, which means they're going to be better prepared for the class. On that note, we should also think about making sure that our material is varied for our learners. We want our learners to be able to engage in their own way. You know, we want to make sure we have enough options that everybody can participate in their learning. And finally, again, it shouldn't be all over the place. It should be integrated in one space through physical books and through the online practice. Now, how do we... Sorry, go on, Stuart.
Nicely explained while I was taking my coffee. Thank you very much, Mark.
I've got a knack for good timing, Stuart.
All right, so I'm going to ask you now, out there, watching us, we hope, I'm going to ask you to participate a little bit now. What I like you to do is just take out your phone if you've got a mobile device in your pocket, put your camera on, and I want you to activate this QR code right now through your camera and answer the question on the screen. And the first person to answer correctly will get a prize from Mark. I don't think Mark brought any prizes.
I didn't. It'll be a round of applause.
A round of applause. Okay, we'll give you a clap. So use your phone, activate the QR from your camera. Tell us what the grammar focus is. We'll wait in silence while you're doing that and hope that one of you can activate it. Hope it works.
Hope it works. Let's get the old... Phones with no battery. You can't prepare for no battery.
One person's got no battery. That's Sylvia, that's fine. Okay. Come on, what about, I'm counting the other 22 participants. Okay, conditionals. Who's that? That's Jose Carlos. Okay, Jose Carlos. All right. So yeah, this is a example of how we might use different ways of accessing different parts of the lesson in order to... Jeffrey has also got conditionals. I think, Jeffrey, you should really be the winner because Jose Carlos works with us. It's not really fair. So, Jeffrey, there you go.
There's your round of applause, Jeffrey.
Your non-prize is on its way, yeah. So, yeah, it's conditionals. If you didn't look, the conditionals, the QR code opens up a short grammar video. And, of course, when we're talking about variety, the idea of short grammar videos is how they can be used in different ways, depending on how you're delivering your class at the moment. So, for example, a short grammar video like this, could you use that before a class, during a class, or after a class? I won't show you the video, but the answer here really is all three. It's flexibility. Exactly, Jeffrey. Thank you. You could do that kind of traditional, what they call a flipped classroom model, where the students might go away and look at this video before they come to class, and that maybe in a face-to-face class will give them more opportunities to sort of use the language, communicate. It will open up more communication time in the classroom. But equally, I mean, this type of material can also work really nicely during a class on a big screen, or if you have students with devices in the classroom, they could, of course, use it like that. And similarly, after class, I'm sure there are scenarios where you have perhaps students who might need to focus a little bit more on a particular area, especially at C1 advanced level. And you might direct them towards one of these tasks and make them aware. But of course, they're in the students' books. The students can go away and activate these in their own times and help to reinforce language points where they feel they need a little bit more reinforcement. So I like to call this sort of, think of this as a sort of flipped class flexibility, if you like, okay? It's up to you how and when this is used in the classrooms. Does flipped have to be digital? Well, no, of course not. It doesn't need to be digital at all. A flipped class, you could do it in different ways. You could use videos, and there's plenty of videos and opportunities to use multimedia these days with your students, of course. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a very popular way of accessing content now. And of course, can be very motivating for students. But equally, you can push other types of practice into a sort of remote area, if you like. If you have less time with your students per week at the moment, for example, there might be parts of a course that you decide your students could focus on in their own time before a class or after a class, or you know whenever you like. I'm just going to go back here into my presentation software just to show you an example of what we're talking about there. So let's just go back to this one. Oh, well, here's the, while I'm here, here's the conditional that you could have activated from your telephone, but you could also activate it.
Grammar on the move. Conditionals.
Hi, Andrew. I won't play all that for you now. That's your homework if you want to look at it. Okay, and flipping other parts of the book is perfectly possible as well. This is probably quite a popular part to give to those students that want a little bit of extra challenge, for example. This is something that could be done equally at home, in class, online. So if I just show you this bit here. So this is a C1 level book. Okay, this is for C1 Advanced, remember. But these particular sections are optional sections that push the students. You can see push yourself, push the students up to a C2 level. So it allows for situations where you might have students who need a little bit more challenge in your classroom. You know, we all teach mixed levels. There's no such thing as a single level, is there? Every classroom, if you're teaching more than one student, you have a mixed level classroom. But there will be students who are at C1, but they need that little bit of extra push. And of course, in the exams themselves, we allow for that with that extended certification in a C1 exam. It's perfectly possible to do extremely well and get a C2 score. So there is that option here, this push yourself. It's not part of the core series, but it's something that could be, you know, flipped outside the classroom if you have a particularly strong class. Equally, you know, anything, vocabulary, all of these exercises are things that could be done in a different, what's the word I'm looking for, in a different context. It doesn't have to be sit down, open your books, let's do this now in the classroom. Okay, let's just go back to here. You can tell I've forgotten where I am, but I'll pretend I haven't. Okay, yes, so we're over to Mark now. So Mark, do you want to, I'll stop sharing and then you can flip over to what you've got, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to say I absolutely love these push yourself sections. They really offer that diversity for our stronger learners, you know, those learners in the group who are maybe performing really well in a section, or they have the language down. We can challenge them and they can go away and they can go and have a look and challenge themselves, as it were, you know.
They're really popular, and you know that's the kind of thing that comes back from research for teachers. Of course, it is. Yeah, it's important to have materials that are accurate to level. They're accurate to the exams, and of course, we provide that. We're the official exam preparation providers. But at the same time, we get a lot of call from teachers, especially in Spain. I could say they were very much involved in research behind this particular series. We approached lots of teachers and centres across Spain. And one of the big things was to provide that extra push, that extra level for students that needed that extra challenge. And you don't have to do this. You might have classes where you think this is inappropriate, perhaps that you don't feel they're quite ready for that extra layer, but it is there, yeah?
Yeah, it's offering a choice, isn't it? It's offering them.
Yeah.
I get this a lot. I visit a lot of schools throughout Madrid, giving training, and it's often something that comes up is how can
virtually nowadays, right?
Well, no, virtually
online
nowadays. Yeah.
You're popping into their living rooms and stuff.
I am people's offices and master teachers, yeah. But it's something that pops up all the time. How can I reach the higher level learners? How can I push my learners, especially in Madrid? It seems to be the level there is a step above, right?
Yeah,
it's a really important thing to have access to.
An interesting question here is when we eventually publish Open World C2, what will the push yourself be?
Yeah, that's a big question.
There's no C3.
No. Native.
Okay.
We'll call it native or something, right?
Maybe.
But they are more or less, I think, anyway. So moving on then. So what we've looked at there is we've looked at the different diverse and engaging regarding the material. And that's all relevant to the course. That's bringing everything into the course, and it's how we can get the classroom-based learning and how we can access that and provide support to our learners and in and outside the class. But we also have a whole range of resources available outside that. You have your standard videos, your audios, your ebooks, the teachers' resources, and Presentation Plus, which is the platform that Stuart was showing you with the course book. But there's also a lovely new feature that Open World at advanced level has, and that is Practice Extra. Now, what it is extra practice wherever the learner needs it, right? So it's on mobile friendly, it's on the desktop, and this is just a way for the learners to be able to take responsibility for themselves, to practice and have a go on, to see if they can get better at the topics we're covering in class. It covers grammar and vocabulary, it covers also games, and there's just a whole host of activities. I'm going to jump across to our platform to show you now. So this is an example of, well, this is Practice Extra for Open World. And we scroll through and you can see it goes through a journey with the learners. So we've got extra reinforcement on the grammar points going on. It comes across to easily confused words here. This will be extra support on the vocabulary. Coming back to the second grammar point, how can we get further practice there? And finally, they're rewarded with a game. Okay, and the journey happens in every one of the units. There's extra resources here for them. We get that data back. We can see how they're performing. That's what you saw earlier with the gold stars and their first and second attempts. Okay, I'm going to quickly jump through to, let's have a look at rolling in the money. I think that's the one we were looking at just now, right? So here is the Practice Extra for that unit. Conditionals. So we've got activities to practice conditionals. We've got money, vocabulary, the grammar, collocations, and they're rewarded with a game. And the beautiful thing about these different activities is obviously it's a journey, it's structured, they follow their way through, but it's so diverse and varied. And it's not just gap fill, it's interactive, it's drag and drops, there are audios, there are videos, okay? I'm just going to write in, I don't know, I can't see my whole screen because I have a video there. This is, I don't know, let's just stick any old one in. Am I right? Oh, excellent, look at that, on the lottery, right? So there's one activity, we'll just jump through. I'm just going to fly through, okay, so you can see how it works and all the different.
That's a lucky first one there, wasn't it?
Yeah, wasn't it just? I love it when that happens. My scores are going to be terrible after this. Okay, again, you can see the different types of activities popping up all over the place. There you go, 50-50. So many lovely little tasks. All this information being collected, being fed back to the teacher. You know, all of this information is there for us to be able to analyze and see what our learners are doing, how well they're performing. It's clear, it's simple, it's easy. You can see again. Boom, boom. I picked one that didn't choose to have a video or anything in it, but they are there, I assure you, right? This practice is repeatable. You know, they can go away, they see they get, well, I'm going to get a terrible score in this one. Let's just finish through the activity and see how terribly I did. Okay, there we go, moving on, jumping on. Past participle, have, past perfect, that seems fine. Okay, nice. Hello. Okay, check. Okay, next. So jumping to the end, here we go. You can see they said good effort. That's nice, bit of positive reinforcement. I got 5 out of 10, and it gives me the encouragement to try and go for gold. I can either repeat or jump across to my next activity. I have the option to go back and review my answers. Okay, this is all based around trying to encourage our learners to be more resilient, to try again. You know, it doesn't matter you didn't get it all right this time. Let's push for the correct answers the next time. Again, a lovely platform to help support all of our learners in the classroom. Again, moving down, they have this journey going through. I'll go back to rolling in the money. If you start with your grammar, you do your vocabulary, you get to the end, and at the end, you get a reward. You have a little game that you can play. And this game is, these word games, there are running games, there's puzzle squares. Let's see how well I do on this. Words collocate with bank. I don't know.
Is this C1, yeah? This is C1
This is
advanced.
C1, yeah, this is C1 advanced. Bank teller, bank robber, bank manager, I don't know. You see bank these loan. Types of bank loan, bank accounts.
Bank charges.
Oh, right, there you go. I've got 50 on that one. Not too bad.
Full score?
Full score, I think, yeah. Ready. Okay, so fun little interactive puzzles to try and encourage our learners to practice, to review. It's extra practice. So this content is different from what you've got in the course book, but all related in. It's pushing our learners further. It's trying to encourage them to want to do a bit of extra outside of class. It's a challenge to try and encourage our learners to do more outside of class, right? But definitely this really works. I've got a 12-year-old at home who I encourage to do this, and I swear to God, she loves it. She gets on it and she asks to go on it. This is a 12-year-old. She just
started.
What
level is she?
She's doing her B1.
Okay, right.
She's doing B1, but she's young, and she sees the value in it, which is the key. You know, I mean, I'd like to say it's my influence, but let's be honest, she doesn't really listen to me that much. Yeah, you know, but it's there. It is motivational. Right. So Practice Extra is just one of those components that we have. There's tons of them on here. You know, you've got the test generated to print material, but we've also got encouragement to try and make them more autonomous and to challenge them and to get them, again, repeating myself, but trying to be more resilient with their learning. Another great feature is our test and train function, right, Stuart?
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to share? I'll stop sharing and I'll
stop sharing now.
I'll go on. Great. Okay. So yeah, let's dip into another ones of this. What we're showing you here today is examples from our exam preparation course, our new course, which is called Open World C1 Advanced. So for the C1 Advanced exam, as you expect. And this is a part of the digital pack available with that for teachers. And of course, part of this is also for learners. Mark's just shown you the Practice Extra, which is very much around the grammar and the vocabulary and games that are needed for that sort of level of language. So all useful stuff as they prepare towards a C1 Advanced exam. And what I want to show you now is a more targeted exam preparation component, if you like, as a part of the digital support for the learners. And this is called Test and Train. I don't know if you've come across this yet. But it's very new, and so we're just going to show you a little bit of that as well. So I'm going to just go back to the dashboard. Can you see that dashboard there, Mark? Great. Okay, and I'm going to go down to my Open World class, which is here, just as you saw with Mark. I'm going to go into the materials here. And I should say at this point, what we're showing you here, this is not an app. This is a website, so this is fully functional across all devices. Okay, it's not something you can only download on a tablet or a phone. It's something we're accessing right now from our laptops, from our notebook computers, desktop computer. But equally, you can access this. It's been built what we call like mobile first, so it's been built to make sure that the mobile experience for our students is key, because we see that as being we see that as being the way that a lot of our students will want to access this type of material. So where was I? Right. So we're going to have a look at Test and Train, and I'm going to show you what Test and Train means within Open World. Okay. So let's go to the menu first, and you can see that the practice for the students involves 2 sets of each part of Test and Train of the test. Okay, this is C1 Advanced, all right? In fact, what I'm going to do first, I'm going to show you what this looks like on a mobile device, because I think it's key. I think it looks really great. So if I was doing this on my mobile phone, it's going to look something like this, all right? So let's just make that a little bit bigger, and you can have a look there. Okay, so imagine this with your students. They're accessing it on their mobile. And what they're going to do here is, let's have a look at reading and use of English. Let's go down to part 5 of C1 Advanced. And immediately they've got a real exam test question here. They've got hints and tips, which as a teacher, I'm sure you would encourage them to look at before they approach the question. You want them to prepare themselves for the question. Okay, I won't show all, but there's hints scattered across every exam task here. And then how do you approach this type of question? Well, you'll probably ask your students to maybe skim the questions first. Or you might ask them to slide the text across and just skim through the main paragraph, the topic headings, for example, first. Yeah, depends what your chosen technique is. Okay. So as the students familiarize themselves with the questions, with the text, they, of course, then attempt to answer. I'm going to do it really quick here, just as Mark did it, just to show you what it looks like. And a student, of course, will go back to the text. They check a bit of the text, back to the question. This is exam practice, all right? So this is all in the students' hands. We want students to be able to control the speed and the amount of time they repeat this practice. It's to help them build confidence. It's to help them develop their exam confidence and boost their sort of boost their sort of proficiency as they get towards exam day. So here we go. Let's check these answers. Hopefully I got at least one right. Wrong, 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 wrong. Yay, correct. Okay, and I can have a quick look at why is it correct, a bit of reassurance. So, you know, this sort of helps the student understand that correct answer and reassures them why it is correct, which is sort of like a pat on the back, really, okay? And you can neatly sort of move this in and out of the way as well as you wish. And equally, for the incorrect answers, there's feedback, instant feedback for the student. Again, they can move it up and down because it's all about the user experience on a mobile device, right? Okay, so there's incorrect. We don't have incorrect for all of the answers because there are some answers in the exams where it's impossible to anticipate every incorrect answer, right? But we have it across a large selection of answers. Okay, and then as you saw with Mark, it's the same platform. This is the test and train. This is the test practice content, but the same platform, so it all works exactly as Mark has already shown you. You can keep trying that activity again and again and again, or your student might decide to dip into another the same part, the same exam part, but a different question. Okay, they've got two sets of questions to choose from here. Right. So let's have a quick look at listening. Part one. I'll just quickly show you because it all looks exactly the same. Hints and tips, okay? Again, probably ask your students to look at these first. And what's really cool here is when you play, can you hear that?
You'll hear 3 different extracts. For
Right.
questions 1 to 6, choose.
As you play it and you scroll down, the player stays at the top. So it's a really nice, intuitive, it makes sense, the experience makes sense for the user. And because this is practice, the students can stop, start.
Are you going to the library?
Rewind, answer the question, change their mind again. Okay, so it's really all at the control of the students because we want them to develop that. This is the training part of test and train, if you like. We want them to develop that confidence and guide them through it with lots of tips, with lots of feedback, lots of help on the feedback, as you can see again on the feedback. Did I get any correct? Yep. There we go. Okay. Okay, so that's the listening. And just to show you how the reading and writing work on this, for the reading and writing, we are using a guidance approach, shall we say, okay? So reading and use of English, listening, instant feedback, instant interaction. With writing, we also have 2 sets of each writing task. We have the writing task itself. We have the hints, we have the tips. And if you as a teacher want to take that writing question and use it with your students to develop, to develop their essay or whatever in the class, you can do that. Maybe you communicate them via email or WhatsApp or however you do it normally. But we don't provide a space for that here. We just provide the question. Then importantly, we provide the sample answer. You can see here all the hints and tips as before. And what's really neat here is you slide it across and then you have an examiner comments on each part of the answer. Okay, and as I say, you can dip into any of those exercises. Here's another writing part 1 for C1. Okay, again, examiner comments. Here's a couple of writing part 2s for C1. Okay, and you can dip into those. If they want to go back and focus on their reading and use of English, it's very easy for them to dip into the part that they want to, and they can do it as many times as they like. As Mark showed you before, in the grade book, they see their first score, their best score, and a number of times. And that's what teachers see as well. Hopefully that shows the progress for the student. It helps to motivate them as well as the gold medals and the things that Mark showed you. Okay. Finally, I'll quickly show you the speaking. Let's go to part 2. With the speaking, we've taken 1 speaking test. We've divided it into the 4 parts of the C1 test, and each part has tips, hints, and at the end it has examiner comments. Let me show you. Here's part 2.
Here are some tips for preparing for part 2 of the C1 Advanced Speaking Test. A good way to prepare for Part 2 is to learn or revise the grammar used in English to make comparisons.
Okay, we won't look at all of those now, but it gives you an idea. Okay, the tips build up at the beginning, as you would expect for this part, for Part 2. Then we go into the exam itself. I'll just play a little bit
to understand their discussion the most clearly.
Well, I think according to the photos that Jason chose, it will be the first photo because we have a little one there, probably 3 years old. It's a girl, so it might need...
Okay, and then at the end, you have the examiner comments on that particular part, which is Part 2 of the C1 speaking test. Okay, so let's just go back and I'll show you one more thing that I really like here. While the students are playing the video, they can also slide across and find the same materials that are used in that particular exam part. So it's all at their fingertips. It's helping them to build the confidence to understand the, in this particular part of speaking, it helps them to understand the environment of the test and what will happen in the test if they're not familiar with it. And of course, it gives them plenty of guidance towards each question. All right, so that is, I won't show you the grade book stuff because I think Mark showed you that already. It looks exactly the same. It's the same platform. Okay, and as I said, it's not an app. This is designed to be used across all devices as flexibly as possible. It's a website first and foremost, but it is designed as a sort of to be able to interact through different devices. Okay, so let's just take that back off and we can go back into the app. Oh, one thing I forgot, I should show you one more thing. As well as the practice tests that you saw there. Okay, let's just go back to that class. As well as the practice, the exam practice that your students can do on their mobile device or whatever, there's also, importantly, there's the test train practice test. Now, this is a full test. It's on Metrica, so if you're familiar with the computer-based exams, this replicates that environment. It's designed for test desktop only because it replicates the environment. It can't be or shouldn't really be done on a device. So it's to get as close to the exam day as possible. And you'll see immediately that it looks like, it looks like the real thing. It's a mock test. Here we are, reading and use of English. And once the teacher activates the test, the students see it. Okay, the teacher has to activate this. The students don't see this particular test until they activate it. So you can imagine if you're teaching, if your students are doing their exams in the middle of June, you'll be asking your students to practice with the exam practice stuff I showed you. And then maybe a week or 2 weeks before the exam, the teacher will activate this test. And this is something that, as it says, is timed. So as soon as you begin, you can see at the top, it starts to count down for the students. They only get one chance to do this test. They can change their minds. They can change words if they want to, as you can see. But once they finish the test, they finish the test. That's it. Scores go to the teacher. Okay. I won't show you all of that today. As with the exam practice, we have got this for reading and use of English and listening. And for the speaking parts, we deliver all of the speaking materials via PDF. And for the writing parts, the writing questions and the marking frames are also delivered via PDF. Okay, that's not in here. It's a very sort of hybrid system at the moment. Okay. Mark, I think back to you, right? Do you want me to stop sharing?
Yeah, if you could, that'd be grand.
Right.
So, 1 second while I bring up the PowerPoint. Okay, lovely. So we've gone through those 3 points. We've looked at easy access, we've looked at scaffolding, we've looked at variety. We've really been showing you those interactive blended features. It's important to mention also we have all of our standard teacher resources that you come to expect from Cambridge, whether it's test generators to create tests, there's extra worksheets, activities, all available on the same platform. Easily downloadable for you, all in PDF format. The tests come in Word format, so we can modify them and edit them as we wish. What have we looked at then? What we've looked at are these 3 points, and what it leads to is trying to create meaningful activities. Now, there's a bit of a ambiguous statement, meaningful activities. What does that mean? Well, what we're trying to say with meaningful activities is activities that are relevant to the learner's situation. We want our content to be meaningful for them, for their learning, for their realities. We do that through being diverse, by providing easy access. We offer them opportunities not only to learn at the level, but to develop further, to take learning into their own hands and be responsible, and not activities that are just extra. These are activities that are related directly to the course they're doing. They have options on how to improve. And finally, we also provide that moment of control. Especially in a blended or flipped environment, we want our learners to be in control of their learning. We need them to have control for it to be successful. You know, we're not there in class with them. They're at home. They can be distracted by their phones or whatever it is. We want them to develop that ability to be engaged in their learning. And that sort of rounds off what we've looked at today. Just to go through, this material has come from our course Open World. That is the digital pack. We saw all these features, the test and train, the practice extra. These are all available on the Cambridge One.
This is all our new digital pack. It's all attached to our new level of Open World, that's C1 mark, yeah. It's also attached, those of you who might be familiar with our other exam preparation books, so Complete First, the new edition, and Compact First, the new edition, also include B2 practice. As you've seen, that includes the test and train I showed you and the practice extra Mark showed you. Everything you can see here. It also includes ebooks for students. So that's, you know, Cambridge One, it's brand new. It's our new way forward. It's our new ecosystem, if you like. So everything you've seen is, which Cambridge books will have Cambridge One? Well, that's just coming in the chat. The short answer is eventually all of our Cambridge books will have Cambridge One, but we can only roll it out so quickly. So at the moment, they're coming out with the new books, which is Open World C1 Advanced, Complete First, Complete B2 First, new edition, Complete Compact First, new edition. Okay, it's also available in secondary books if you're interested in secondary books. Collaborate, for example. Prepare, it's a great question. It's coming very soon to Prepare. Watch this space. You'll start seeing it around Prepare in the next year. Okay. Talk to your Cambridge representative if you have that. It will be with Prepare in the next year. And Prepare in the next year will also be going up to a higher level as well. So lots around Prepare soon. Okay. It's Open World. If you could just go forward one slide, Mark, just to put it in a bit of context. So what we're showing you now is the new level, C1, with the digital pack. The previous levels, so that's B2 First, B1 Preliminary, and A2 Key, they don't yet have the digital pack, but we do have access to all of the teacher tools, presentation tools, test generator tools. We have exam practice, and we have ebooks as well for those levels. But at the moment, we're waiting to get, as with the question early, we're waiting until we can get all of our books onto Cambridge One, but it will take time. Yeah, we have to do it step by step. So we're starting with the new editions, and we will be working backwards to these other levels that you can see. And that's not just Open World, that's across all of our titles, all of our main courses that you use out there.
All your favorites. What's important also just to quickly mention is all this content that you're seeing is created new. It's fresh, it's updated. It is all being created specifically for these courses. One final thing, those of you who may be familiar with Cambridge materials, you may be using the Cambridge Teacher. That's still around, that still exists. We're still using that. All of your resources are there, same easy one click to get into. Yeah. There's also the option when you have Cambridge One, there'll be a link here to jump across to Cambridge One as well. So
yeah, and this is, sorry Mark, yeah.
Carry on.
This is the Open World First, which has been out for a while now, about a year or so now. And you can see it still has all of those teacher tools, as Mark's just said. It also has that exam preparation bank on the right, which includes resources and tests for the Cambridge B2 First exam. And, you know, talk to your Cambridge representative if you want to access some of the stuff you've seen today, so such as test and train. we can give you access to that for this level if you want to play around with it with your students. That's possible. So talk to your Cambridge representative.
On that note, there's the email on screen for you. I think Paco has also shared his the email address in the chat box. Please do get in touch. Let us know. We're always more than happy to have a chat and a conversation with you.
There is a little bit of chat, but I think, Paco and Jose Carlos, our colleagues, have been answering you as we've been going along. So hopefully...
do you have any other questions?
Open World C2, great question. I hope so. One day. Not yet, but one day.
So if anyone has any final questions, if not, then
I agree.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'll keep pushing for it in Cambridge, okay?
Okay, I think that's us. We'll pass back to... there we go. Hello.
Bueno, estupendo, nos ha encantado la ponencia, la exposición, los materiales fantásticos y bueno, pues que necesitamos el C2, así es que a por ello, ¿no? Miguel, no sé si quieres decir algo más. Bueno, gracias a vosotros, gracias a todos los ponentes, ha sido un lujo, como he dicho antes, Stuart, Mark, Sara y Wendy. Wendy o no, Lucy, perdón.
Lucy estaba así.
Muchísimas gracias. Volveremos a repetirlo, ¿verdad, Miguel?
Efectivamente.
Y bueno, pues también quiero agradecer a CADE, que es nuestra patronal, como os he dicho antes, nuestra patronal de enseñanza, por también prestarnos todos la ayuda que hemos necesitado. Y bueno, además hemos terminado puntuales, son las 12:59, puntualidad española. Muy bien. Miguel, no sé si quieres decir algo más. Una cosita, el webinar se subirá a la página web de Acedin, o sea que podéis acceder a él, se subirá yo creo que quizá hoy. No obstante, se enviará también a todos los correos de todos los participantes, se enviará. Y si alguien quiere también tenerlo algo, el vídeo de cada ponencia, pues como os han puesto ahí los correos, pues podéis contactar con ellos, ¿vale?
Pues nada, dar las gracias de nuevo a Beatriz, la organizadora desde ACADE, que ha proporcionado todos los medios técnicos necesarios para que se produzca con todo éxito en la preparación, comunicación y realización técnica. Ha estado excelente. Y los participantes, yo creo que gracias Beatriz, muchas gracias.
Gracias a vosotros. Thank you so much.
Y realmente ha sido, pues eso, como ha dicho María José, nuestra presidenta, un auténtico lujo contar con personal tan experimentado como Mark Meredith, como Stuart Binney, como Sarah Collins y como Lucy Thistlethwaite, para poder participar y hacer estas jornadas, que es un inicio de una iniciativa nueva ante esta situación, y que las reanudaremos en un futuro conforme vayáis actualizando materiales, cuando venga el C2, cuando vengan todo este tipo de cosas que nos hagan incentivar y promover las jornadas pedagógicas. Gracias a todos por participar y por vuestras interesantes ponencias. Muchas gracias.